Well, onto a manager who is under the same kind of weekly pressure, it would appear, as Thomas Frank, Ruben Amorim, who seems to just go from one disastrous result to a decent one and then back again. I was at Selhurst Park on Sunday, and at halftime, I must say, I just thought there was absolutely no chance that Man United are winning that game. I would have also at that point taken Joshua Zirkzee off because he offered absolutely nothing. And then 10 minutes into the second half, Joshua Zirkzee scores a really well taken goal. He looks like a proper striker all of a sudden.
I don't envy you. Because your job is to sort of, in part, is to kind of provide a coherent narrative around Manchester United and their performances. And I watched the second half when I got to Stamford Bridge, and I did sort of think, what am I watching here? Like, how have they done this? I mean, what can you say about that second half? And should we be giving Amorim credit for the changes that he made?
Well, it's interesting with that because I thought that Amorim deserved quite a lot of credit. He got a lot of stick after the Everton game for not making enough in-game changes. Everyone was pointing to the fact that he kept that back three against 10 men for so long. I thought against Palace that he did make a couple of tactical tweaks at half-time. It looked to me like he'd moved Mbeumo, who in the first half seemed to be quite far out wide and trying to link with Ahmad, that Amorim had brought him inside, moving closer to Zirkzee. Everything that had looked so disjointed in the first half began to look a little bit more connected, and they just started to play better. I asked Amorim afterwards, trying to kind of offer him the chance to pat himself on the back, essentially. And he just went, well, we made a couple of changes, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is we were more intense after half-time. I also told the players that Palace had played on Thursday. They'd come back from Strasbourg where they'd been beaten. We should have more energy. He thought they were Palace. He said he could sense in the last sort of minutes of the first half that Palace were already struggling energy-wise, and told his players that. That said, as different as the second half performance was, the 2 goals have come from set pieces. So they didn't create an awful lot in open play, but this is a set piece season. And if you're good at set pieces, which United suddenly have become, I think they've scored 10 now direct from set pieces, which is the same as Arsenal, which is saying something because Arsenal get an awful lot of credit. And Carlos Fernandes, who is part of Amorim's staff, deserves a lot of credit for that because it really is his baby, the set piecing. You know, it's his job to decide what happens and how those things play out. I just think with Man United, perhaps that they're never, this season anyway, they're just never going to turn a corner. And we're going to keep asking Amorim, have you turned a corner? And he's just going to keep saying, probably not. And I think he's probably right. I think maybe what we're seeing with Man United is that the players he's got, the squad he's got, have become functional in that system. And that's as good as they're going to get. And that means that they're going to have some absolute shocking performances, particularly against teams who want to sit back and defend quite low, like we saw with Everton. And they're probably going to have some good results and some good performances, probably against teams who are more comfortable on the front foot. And it's just going to be that kind of up and down situation all the way until the end of the season. And what Amorim can only hope is that there are more good days than bad days. He gets in and around the top 6. He qualifies for Europe, which was the designated aim before the season. He gets to next summer, and then you can start making proper changes and improving the squad. He obviously needs a midfielder, at least one, probably 2. He needs at least 1 wing back, again, probably 2. And then the start of next season, he will hope to have lifted the level of the entire squad to the point where they can compete consistently, because I just don't think right now that they're able to do it.
Okay, so if there are essentially hostages to the inconsistencies of their own players, which is basically what you're saying, then I want to just ask you about Mason Mount, because obviously he scored the winning goal. He's had an awful time since he moved from Chelsea. I've read a lot of positive quotes from Ruben Amorim talking about him and what he can bring. What have you made of him this season, and can he? Does the system fit him, firstly? And secondly, can he actually make the difference? Is he in a position now where he can stay fit and start making a really positive impact? Because United have got a player who was a Chelsea and England regular only 2 or 3 years ago.
I think he's a great player, personally. I think it's quite telling that at Palace on Sunday, that was the first time he completed 90 minutes in the Premier League for United. And he joined in 2023, which tells you everything about how he's been affected by injuries. I think we're at the stage now with Mason Mount. If there was one Man United midfielder who could force a way into the England squad before the World Cup, it's probably Mount over Mainu. He's far better positioned because he's playing. I think the system suits him. I think Amorim loves him. He wants players who are energetic. He wants players who can kind of lead the press. Mount does it superbly. I think that the only issue for Mason Mount is that he's a different profile to the other number 10s in the squad. And Amorim is very conscious of sometimes appearing to be more cautious. And he will know that if he picks Mbeumo and Cunha as these 2 number 10s, they are forwards and are more likely to score you a goal. Now, Mason Mount offers you different things. He does score goals. I think he got double figures in the Premier League for Chelsea one year, I think, when he was Player of the Year. So he can do it. But he's more of a midfielder than, say, Mbeumo and Cunha. And I think for Amorim, it's about finding the games where he is best used. And there was a game at Liverpool, the game that they won at Anfield, where there was absolutely no doubt that Mason Mount was going to play, because that was just the perfect game for him to start and be energetic in midfield, break stuff up, drop into midfield when United were under the cosh, have the quality on the ball to kind of keep the ball and keep possession, keep the ball moving. I just wonder whether, when it comes to the likes of West Ham at Old Trafford on Thursday, who you would expect would sit in a low block, whether he would prefer to have Mbeumo and Cunha in there.
Well, yeah, because it's not that kind of game, is it? I always remember Frank Lampard and Thomas Tuchel, when they were Chelsea managers, talking about how Mount would set the press for them, and just he's just relentless, really intelligent pressing, but his relentless energy and what he would give you off the ball. They really, really valued that, and you've got and actually Gareth Southgate often talked about it as well. So you've got 3 managers there who all recognise what he could give you without it. It's just a case of whether he can do it with the ball enough in that system.